So one of the questions that I've been intrigued by, and one of my colleagues at Columbia at the Center for Teleinformation wrote a paper, now we're going back years, who predicted basically that information democracy would cause the dispersal of the university. And both of us, I think one of the interesting things about executive education in business schools to me is that's where a lot of innovation is allowed to happen, because it's not really the core business. It's sort of, you can try stuff over there and it's not going to worry our brand. And, if you want to experiment, okay, whatever. And yet, if I think about the core brands, the main business of the business schools, the degree granting parts of it. I had an interesting conversation a few months ago with somebody, and I said, well, why would it be worth it to somebody to spend $250,000 on a Columbia degree, let's just say? And they start off with, the network and the people that you meet and the job of the admissions office, right? I mean, my joke on this is we only take like one out of 18 people, and they're super people, right? They're they climb mountains in Nepal, they jump out of airplanes, they sing arias in the opera. I mean, they're super people. All we have to do is no damage in the 2 years that we have them. They're going to be super people when they graduate. And so, eventually you get to sort of item number 22 by the time you say, oh yeah, they might learn something. And I think one of the very interesting observations I would make, and I don't know where this is going to land, but in the pandemic, right? We've learned that the knowledge transmission function of the university is a small fraction in many cases of its value, and that knowledge transmission function can be done in a lot of other ways.
Well, I completely agree. I have, full disclosure, I mentioned my dad and his story. I'm a faculty brat, from Chicago's Hyde Park. Again, that explains pretty much 80% of my dysfunction, but that's a comment that's left to the chat. I agree completely with you on that, but I want to double down on this because I'm a little skeptical about quote unquote the future of the university. We're all living longer. I think education for people in their 40s is now more important than education for people in their 20s. Yes, I'm biased because I'm closer to my 40s than I am to my 20s. Then again, if you don't have a continuous learning ethos, you're going to have an issue no matter what your grades from Columbia or MIT or Harvard are, in the year 2024. But the key insight that I come away with, and this ties directly into your, forgive me for doing this to you, but to your doctoral thesis, when I began at MIT, I really thought about education as being the transmission of expertise. How can I use myself, my colleagues, my tools, the class to more efficiently, effectively, comprehensively, personalized, transmit my expertise? And fortunately, because I'm at MIT and our motto is mens et manus, mind and hands, I realized, and spent time at the Media Lab, that I realized, and I'm embarrassed to say that it took me longer to realize. I wish it was an instantaneous epiphany, but it wasn't. It was, I was a moron. It's not primarily the transmission of expertise. It's the cultivation of capability. And I think one of the things we learn from being on Zoom or, Teams is that communicating information and sharing knowledge really is tactically and practically different than how do you cultivate a capability in someone, and this, you should talk about your thesis now, because this is, it's the whole notion of, it's not just how you know something, it's your ability to enact what you know in a way that adds value cost effectively. That's, talk about optimization within constraints. That's not subtle. That's hard. That's hard. And that's where I think we need to go. And I think that's why technology is so important, because a lot of our capabilities increasingly come from our ability to engage and interact with our technology as well. Rita was making sure that I put my name correctly on the Zoom. I would consider it a minor feature, but it's part of the capability of effective telepresence.